City. So Sook Jin, I'm just going to introduce her just briefly. Sook Jin is a multidisciplinary artist. Over the past 35 years, she's produced drawings, collages, photographs, sculptural assemblages, performances, installations, public works, and architectural design works. Amazing. And in fact, she also designed and built 2 art house chapels, one in Nicaragua from 2018 and one in Guatemala in 2021, which is incredible. Her work is, most of her work is site-specific and collaborative, working with professionals and local people from many diverse communities, including in Sweden, India, Poland, Switzerland, Korea, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Brazil, and the United States. Different teams of people. Jo's works can be seen in numerous public collections, including the National Museum of Contemporary Art in Korea, the Seoul Museum of Art, also in Korea, and many other museums, including the Erie Museum of Art in Pennsylvania, and then also in West Virginia, Connecticut, and again in Seoul, Korea. Her work is just worldwide, and I couldn't be more thrilled that her work is in our gallery, because it seems just from afar, and I'm also in New York City right now, but I'm so excited to come and see Sook Jin's work, because I've heard Sook Jin's work. I've heard it's very dramatic, and I cannot wait to learn more about it. So without further ado, this Sook Jin Jo, please take it away. And I'm sorry for that jumbled introduction, but I have to tell you, I just can't be more excited about seeing your work. Oh my God, you really have this extensive resume, and take it away. Can't wait. I'll be off screen, and then once you're finished with your presentation, I hope we can answer some questions from the audience, or you and I can just have a conversation. And if you don't mind, I'd love to ask you some questions.
Oh, thank you so much for wonderful introduction. I feel very humbled. Thank you for having me for this opportunity to present my work. And I'll give you an overview of my work and will show many images for your better understanding. Hope you enjoy. Okay. I like to start at the beginning. Very early painting on plywood, 1983. It's my self-portrait. I was in difficult situation. I tried to accept everything and transcendent like the sea. The title was like water. During my graduate study in Korea in the 1980s, I studied painting on cheap plywood because I could not afford to buy canvas and oil. So I started to use plywood. As you can see, I tried to find the intrinsic nature of a material, and I tried to break boundaries and explore the relationship between painting and sculpture, creating certain meditative quality. I got seriously involved in plywood and other wooden material that I found on street in the construction areas or in abandoned areas. This is, I built this 1993 work for meditation. It was really meditation for myself. As you can see, I create big works to break a prejudice towards the woman at that time. I also consciously try to challenge and overcome perception of gender regionalism through my artwork in a quiet way. This work is called Tombstone Landscape, 18 feet long by 6 feet high. It was inspired by enormous graveyard that I saw when I arrived in New York. The windows have not opened many years, and this is another work. All things are born of a being. I'm still fascinated by old, abandoned, disappearing things that people usually don't value. They hold a great attraction for me because of the humble and collective history and their humanity. One of our work, a series of Shanghai Black was created during my 6 months residency in Shanghai 2014. It was inspired by different elements, especially by pollution and no sunset and Chinese painting, and the contrast and complexity of the great city Shanghai. So my work has extended the installation and public art, most of them site-specific, and often I choose neglected marginalized site. Resurrection 1996 to 1997 I made, Zen Garden 1998. Sometimes I install the work in relation to space, so work can be different, placed in different ways, depends on space. The title of the work is Cathedral Korean Explorers. This is a 30-foot long ceiling installation, and I made in 2002 about 500 rare wooden objects that I collected in Korea. The work was inspired by my visit to a cathedral in Salvador, Brazil. Exploro means religious offering in Latin America. I really wanted people to connect with the work genuinely, so I create the intimate space by constructing a 30-foot long hallway in a corner space of the museum. The objects were hanging, as you see, and people could walk underneath it. I heard many people got goosebumps when they enter this space. This is a drawing of construction in process. In 2004, I was invited to Uchu Biennial, some people called Lot, in Poland. The theme was construction in process. I immediately thought about several drawings I made a few years earlier about the roots of mangrove trees that I saw in Brazil for the first time. I thought if I could realize the work based on that drawing, it would be perfect for the subject. I'm not sure you know, mangrove trees usually grow around the shore where salt and fresh water meet, and their roots grows like branches in order to survive. I was so impressed by the roots and their structural relationship. And many students, college students and volunteers helped to install the work. At the opening, I conducted a piece performance with the audience, reminding our interconnection between human being and nature. About 30-40 people participated. The result was very moving. Sorry, I don't have a photo right now. And this kind of construction series, I've been built 10 different places in different settings in Switzerland, Korea, France, America, in collaboration with the student and local community. The work really creates a space for interaction, contemplation, and play and inspiration. All things work together, 2004 in New York. This is a memorial piece to dedicate to my younger brother who died at that time. There are some objects such as a wooden horse, a small wooden chair, and a rusty roller skate, all of which evoke memories of my brother and mystery of childhood. I wanted to transform the space into a silent forest and a space for contemplation. Oops, sorry about that. At the opening day, we had a snow. It was like a fairy tale. Different version of a construction series. You can see the process. This was at the Huntington Museum of art in West Virginia. I was invited as a Walter Gropius master artist program, and I was given only a gallery space. However, when I went there for the site visit, I found the outside courtyard here, space that Bauhaus architect Walter Gropius designed last before he died. So I suggested if I could use the courtyard as well, and the museum was very happy about my idea and gave me a full support. So the piece called The Outside In connected the space between the inside of gallery and the outside of courtyard space beyond the wall in between. You can see the scale through the photo. I work with the assistant and few volunteers. Where I work with the volunteers, I give a simple guideline and encourage them to use their own creativity. When the work was done, two volunteers, one was a young doctor and the other was an electrician, told me, "Thank you so much for this opportunity." When they said that, I was very moved. This was in Basel outskirts in Switzerland. I found a neglected kind of site in beautiful winery. So you can see working with the high school students and volunteers. This is another version. It's chairs 2009. Now, the abandoned wooden chairs on the street always attract me because of their emptiness and history. And to me, empty seat carried an even stronger presence. I collected about 150 chairs over a 10-year period from 2000 to 2010. As time went by, the work was shaped by bits and pieces of different memories from different time. This was in LA. It was gallery space. The opening gate is leading to second floor. The original opening was bigger than what you see. So, but I thought it was too big for space. So I asked gallery director if I could reduce the size of opening, and she agreed. So I reduced it. A year later, I visit the gallery, and I was surprised that they still kept the same opening. They were very happy that the reduced opening was enough so that they could have a little bigger wall space. Anyway, the chair installation created many emotional responses from the viewers. Maybe because it was during the Iraq War. One artist almost cried, and another person told me that the work reminded him a little humble theater in a small town. Another person asked me if the work symbolized wounded soldiers. I didn't imply anything, but people see each chair as a person. This is another version of chairs. Frames, 2010. I was in a 6-month residence in Basel, Switzerland, and I was fascinated by old frames during my stay. As you see, they are suspended at a height, in the middle of space. So people could peer through them and be framed by empty frames. The work became, interactive, playful, theatrical, and contemplative. Different perspective. And it was Seoul Museum of Art. I was surprised they collected this installation work. Another piece. Now, public art. 1998, 1999, I was very much interested in empty space because people usually don't value. So I wanted to emphasize the space. This is called the space between. And one day, a photographer came to take picture of me. He asked me to get into the inside. So I climbed up and went inside. Interestingly, I experienced a sense of peace in that space, and the work is just so different than when you just look at it from the outside. So based on my experience, I developed the idea making meditation space for outdoors. So this was located at Art Park in upstate New York. And people can get into it, as you can see, and there is a long bench inside. I didn't cut any trees. There are living trees inside too. The scale and form was designed in harmony with the surrounding environment. In my public art projects, I want to create works that are in harmony with their environment and that many people can interact to do with the work and that have a potential to lift the spirit and the mind. I really want people to connect with the work genuinely, physically and spiritually. And also when I make a work outdoors, I carefully decide the supporting structure. I heard many work couldn't stay long and destroyed by storms. It's upstate New York, but my work stayed about 15 years. I was in residence in India, and the site, which had previously been neglected, happened to be at the northeast corner, the holiest direction they called in Ishan. The title of the work became Ishan. I learned their traditional way of making a foundation, and I tried to combine inner and outer space. In Indian society, I found the prayer space is important. I also found that class systems still existed. So I wanted to create a work that was for everybody. The work was inspired by what I discovered in their culture, and I returned what I learned to the local community. There's a 9 bells, symbolize the 9 planets of the solar system. If you can look carefully, there's a platform made with styrofoam and little aluminum. That platform was for holding the artwork and was given to all the artists, and all the work has to be float on the water. I found it was visible and looking ugly when it was floating on the water. So I conceived the platform as a space so people can get into. So when I put the work on the water, it was only when the project manager understood the work and suddenly held my hands and danced with joy. In Switzerland, the people are allowed to swim in the canal. I heard many swans and people use and enjoy the space. Many boats passed by during 4-5 months long exhibition. I heard some of the works were overturned, but not mine. It was very balanced. So another just transform the marginalized space. This is a rendering for a permanent public art project in the plaza in front of a new Metro Detention Center in downtown LA. I was commissioned in 2004 by City of Los Angeles Department Cultural Affairs and completed 2009. The title is Wishing Bell to Protect and Serve. This was a new prison, so it was a controversial project between a city planner and police department and local community. So local community is Little Tokyo. I tried to bring a harmony through the artwork and to change people's perception of jail and created an inviting place. So when I developed the concept of the work, I remind of several nice memory of bells ringing when I visited in Japan. So I started to investigate of the history of the bells and discovered a beautiful tradition. Traditionally, bells in Buddhist temples are rung 108 times on New Year's Eve to announce new beginning and sense of freedom. So each tour of the bells dispels one desire and maybe a cause of human suffering. So the Buddhism tells us human being has a 108 earthly desire that cause human suffering. So if you look, the bells look the same, but the weight of each is different. So each bells create different sound when moves by the wind. 108 bells. And actually this 9 columns resurrected from 500, 800 naturally dead cedars. And I made a plaza pattern represent water movement inspired by Japanese Zen garden. So I try to respect the Japanese tradition and their culture through the work. This is drawing for Color of Life, the title of the work. In fact, this is my first outdoor piece realized in 1999 at the Socrates Sculpture Park, New York. Originally, the work was inspired by a dream I had earlier. In my dream, people died frantically, like in a war. And I saw the circle and fire there. I woke up with a screaming and sweaty. I questioned why. I was so afraid this is part of our life. So I wanted to share my thought and to transform that scary dream into a positive work using circles and other elements. So I made a drawing next day of the work, and that people can get into an individual space at the same time that people can feel a sense of community. It was constructed with the 70 metal drums, and it's an interactive contemplative space and space for play for all age group. As you can see, we got many positive responses, and at the opening day, we had a performance in collaboration with the musician and audience, other volunteers to celebrate life. Performers were very serious. On the contrary, kids are having fun. It was an interesting contrast. This is another work. I was able to build same composition with the same composition in Korea. I used a metal pour instead of wooden pour because it was a permanent project. And during the pandemic, National Museum of Modern Art, Contemporary Art in Korea, they has a plan for the special exhibition for kids. So I use more lively and pretty color, hoping people interact and enjoy with the mind world of child during this difficult time. Those difficult time. So the title of the work, Hide and Seek, it was 2020. And after the exhibition, I donated to orphanage. So I think they are dancing on the top. So I'd like to share a few images. I work on art chapel in recent years as you explained it. Art chapel is a prayer room and combination of art and architecture. This is a site in Nicaragua. And the site previous was a mission field church founded by Korean missionary early 2000 and run down. So when I commissioned the project, I was excited as I have been dreaming to create an art chapel and for a long time. So to honor the site history and the spirit, I decided to maintain and emphasize the existing structure, the roof and foundation stones. So I built like this. Actually, we built during the dangerous times with the political protests against dictatorship in Nicaragua. So it was not easy, but we finished it. And I also use discarded school chairs and place them in there. Last year, there's another project, Art Chapel project in Guatemala. It was a very small space, so I decided to raise the height of the ceiling to 26 feet high. And also consciously try to use indigenous Mayan temple forms before the colonial period. So I made a slant roof. I used different shape of windows on the wall and ceiling. They collect the light from outside to the inside. And this chapel is operated by solar energy too. Because one of the window was big, so they asked me to cover for their security reasons. So I designed a 2-panel. I made a less than 1 inch gap in the shape of a cross in the middle. It was inspired by Luis Barragan's house. The light coming through the gap project the shape of the cross on the wall, on the floor. Indeed, the movement of the light is really magical and mysterious throughout the day. Are you listening? So I'm currently working on the third chapter in El Salvador, and I'm actually leaving soon this week to finish the project. So we are almost getting there. Sometimes I use different mediums like performance and photography, or video, whatever the medium, though I try to be true to the medium and find their intrinsic value and transform them into something that can touch people's heart. So this was in Brazil, 2008. It is a 1-hour installation and performance piece in collaboration with the musician and composer. I was inspired by a line that I discovered accidentally in Salvador, Brazil. The line says, "It is a true philosophy to meditate on death." And these are grave markers that I made, inspired by local cemeteries. So during 1-hour performance in collaboration with the musician, many things happened. And 1-hour video shows all the happening. In the end, I gathered them before they washed away and burned them one by one. So in a way, I explored the inevitable cycle of life and death. And it's mystery and universal questions. So this performance has been shown as a video piece on 2 screens called Crossroad in different settings. 2 videos short and long in length, run in loop, and 1-hour long video show all this life happening, and the other one I'm creating, and the other one I'm letting go. And I construct this outdoor theater especially for this video work, Crossroad in harmony with the Art Museum in Korea. So now I'm talking about Witness. First Witness 2017. Actually, originally I made a drawing 1998 as a hide and seek, but the concept changed over time as I experienced and witnessed the social problems. So nature, and especially tree, as you know, that has lived for several hundred years, some are 1,000 years, is a symbol of life and witness and observe the world and human history. So sound installation, Witness 1. After that, Witness this. Oops. Oh, okay. And this was another setting in Jeju, Museum of Contemporary Art in 2 years ago. So we use about 20 speakers and 2 subwoofers to create 3-dimensional sound effect. Now we present about 10 months during the pandemic, and the response was really powerful. I can say that. The sound are from nature and human struggle and war and everyday life. Bird, wind, waves, train. This is a photo I'm showing at the Franconia Sculpture Park now. And I like to introduce this work too. This is a rendering drawing of the Face of Heaven 2016. It was a memorial installation for Sewol ferry disaster in 2014. I'm not sure you remember, 304 people died when the ship sank, and mostly high school students who were on the school trip died. So I use LED light and sound, and the work was based on a story that I heard when I was young. When person die, a person become a star and brighten the world. I also was inspired by Robert Kennedy's eloquent eulogy for his brother John F. Kennedy. So I create a space with 304 lights shining like stars through the halls, offering a metaphor of longing and remembrance and comfort for those who died in Sewol ferry tragedy. The title of the Face of Heaven came from Romeo and Juliet, written by William Shakespeare. I used a different speed of LED light, so really, it was really beautiful. I heard many people were very moved and cried and also felt relieved in a way. This still process, but we presented at the theater. I was invited as a master artist at the Atlantic Center for the Art in Florida. So my group had 7 artists from diverse fields: musician, choreographer, media artist, and several visual artists. And I accidentally found a rusty bathtub in the back garden of ACA. So this bathtub reminds me of a story from Rwanda genocide in 1994. 8 women hid and stood for 91 days in a 34 by 4 small bathroom, and they survived. This was an experimental performance piece of that story, and we developed this story as a collaborative experimental piece to which everyone could contribute. And this is another project working with a musician. I'm not going to go detail. I've been showing many images of the work. So last, I'm going to show photography work. I've been taking pictures of different subject matter. And this cross, obviously red neon cross, if you go to Korea and at night, you will see so many red neon signs. And every time I see, I felt very unfamiliar and sometimes threatening. So I took series of pictures of a Seoul cross. And in the end, I show this is a Seoul. And I printed 6 archival photo prints, each mounted to panel 4 by 8 feet, overall 8 by 24 feet. I used 72 photo images to present what I experienced. I also took series of grave markers in Brazil, very humble. and simple grave markers. It came out as a book. And recently, during the pandemic, I found the people experiencing homeless, increasing in, also they're very diverse in age and races. So I interview and photograph about 100 people experiencing homelessness on the street in Manhattan. And I took their portrait in their own street environment. I didn't ask them pose, I did it very quickly. And most of them, I got permission to do it. I was able to show last year. And another subject matter, I've been taking photographs of disappearing buildings, and they are abandoned warehouses, factories, hospitals, and homes. I took over last 15 years from 2001 to 2017 in America, Germany, Turkey, India, Brazil, China, and Korea. So I have some community involved with the project, but I just show the images. For me, it's like more, this is a building. During my residency, I didn't have any obligation to create the work, but when I saw site or something that touched my heart, then I start making some works like performance. I work with the students using found objects. And then I was visiting artists at the University of Texas in El Paso. I work with the students to create immigrants. And I work with this is really different, but I work with those who special needs, and we collect discarded baggage, plastic bags, and we made it. So when I didn't have a studio, I started making paper work. So these are paper. So I hope you enjoyed. I show so many images, and I'm done. Oh, I cannot hear you.
Got it now. Thank you so much, Sook Jin. That was extraordinary. And I mean, really, honestly, what an amazing, many bodies of work. I have a lot of questions, but the first question, I would love to know, who are some of the artists that inspire you? And then I want to talk about two artists that I wonder what you think of.
It's hard to say because, when I developed my work during my graduate studies in that time, we didn't really know many many Western artists. We just knew through the books. But when I started working on plywood, cheap plywood, my professor, actually, he was a leading contemporary artist, now internationally known artist. He dismissed the choice of my medium. But when he said that, I felt like I was onto something. Instead of being discouraged, I was very encouraged, and I wanted to show, this plywood or wooden material can be excellent to art mediums. So I got seriously involved, and I tried to make my own vocabulary. So I always try to listen what I wanted, and I just follow my intuition. There is an artist I liked, like Cezanne, some artists, but I don't think I was influenced by immediate from other artists. I don't, yeah.
I'm going to hold my next question because we have someone in the audience who's asked a few questions. This person's name is Lisa, and Lisa says, I have so many questions. Where did you study? How did you get started? Where do you store your large materials?
Oh, you look at carefully, you have to smart. Big pieces are usually divided in few pieces.
Uh-huh.
That's another question. And I was studying in Korea. I actually have a graduate program in Korea, and I came to New York 1988. And to stay a long time, I had to be a student. So I registered at Pratt, and I stayed there.
Amazing. Lisa also says, I'm impressed by the combination of the simplicity and complexity as well as the quality of your work.
Thank you.
Lisa asked, did you say you felt threatened by the red neon crosses?
Oh, I did when I saw one time. So I saw so many, just one place. Sometimes in a one block, there are several churches in one block. And I happened to see from the here to down there, and there are like, I think more than 10, and it was strange. The meaning of cross is become very secular in a way, and very commercial. That's why I wanted to show many images in as a one piece.
Okay. We have another question from Tim Manalo. I'm sorry, Tim, if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Manalo. Tim says, Sook Jin, it's so nice to hear your voice again. In the projects where you work specifically with students, volunteers, and the local communities, did you ever encounter any resistance to participate in your projects? What did you do? How did that impact the final outcome?
Oh, actually, I didn't really have any problems. You know, we are all I'm very flexible when I work with the people. And as I said, I really encourage them to use their own creativity. And I control. In the end, it has to stay as an hour. So I controlled certain element to make it maybe better aesthetically. But usually we have a great time. It was a wonderful collaboration every time. I can tell you once, when I was working on piece at the Socrates Sculpture Park, the local high school teacher brought in a few students who were at risk. And one of our students came, he was African American, and he said that my two older brothers, they are in prison. He said that I used to really like a painting, and what's your next project? I like to, involved in your project, and that was so. I think I have a very good collaboration so far. And Sweden, that was amazing. Actually, it was a wonderful experience working with the people who special needs, and I convinced them to work with me. And in the end, we all inspired together.
Oh, that's wonderful. My question is, what do you think of the artist's work, Cornelia Parker, and also Doris Salcedo, who both work with, I don't know if you're familiar with their work.
I'm so bad at people's name. I have to see the work, then I know.
Well,
I'm going to look at it now.
For you and the audience, I just say that Cornelia Parker did this incredible sculpture called Mass. That was from 1997, where she took remnants of a Baptist church and then
I know this piece.
Put it all back together. And then in addition, Doris Salcedo, a Colombian artist from Colombia, she did a massive untitled piece of 1,550 wooden chairs at the Istanbul Biennial in 2003. And I just wonder, because while your work is different, and each of all three of your work is really different, there seems to be this sort of sincerity, humility, quietness, even a sense of mortality. And I just wonder what you think of their work and how you may relate to them.
I don't know many of their work, but I'm familiar their work. I just look, and their work is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And they're powerful, and they try to create their own way to connect with the people.
Mm-hmm.
So also scale wise, sometimes scale is important too.
Right, correct. Why do you think that that's important, and how is it important?
No, it depends on work. Sometimes a small work is it can be very powerful too.
Mm-hmm.
When you use a space also, then some large scale work can people are very impressed by that too. Also in the space too. So it's when we create the big works, I think it's very important to we use many different elements, create certain atmosphere, even lighting and many small elements.
Okay.
I don't know the relationship, but I think they have their own perspective.
Of course, and they're both coming from different places, but just visually and some overlap in content. I think just for the audience and just my curiosity, wanting to know what
I
you
think because of materials,
yes,
colors, and the forms, maybe, but I think work they talk very differently.
Mm-hmm. We have another question from Miguel. Miguel says, where else can your audience learn more about your work? You went rather quickly through the last part of your slides. Do you have videos? Do you have websites, YouTube, etc.?
Yeah, when they go to YouTube, I think Sook Jin Jo, they put my name, and I think there are several interviews on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Also Vimeo. If you go Vimeo and put my name, everybody can see my video pieces or documentaries there too. And
your website too, right?
Website is very old website, so I cannot put many. But yeah, just some information there. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. I just have another a question about the Witness 3 at Franconia. So can you tell us, for those of us who are eager to see the work, and I just would recommend everyone running to Franconia to see this piece, and then those who have seen it and have that experience, can you share with us a little bit about what you were thinking for that work in that space? Because I'd imagine that every space that you work with is different, and even you said in the presentation that you react to that space. Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit about the work at Franconia?
Sure. Before I went to Franconia, I got some images of the material that I could use. Mm-hmm. One of the material I quoted was long telephone poles. Mm-hmm. And I originally thought I'm going to use for the outdoor work, but because of the Franconia step changes and the plan changed, so I was given, the gallery space was given to me. So it was a smaller space than I expected. So, why don't I use a still telephone poles? So we had a hard time to bring the telephone poles. And there's one volunteer artisan, she questioned me, how you are going to put the telephone poles in the gallery?
Mm.
So I answer, I'm gonna squeeze them.
You squeeze them in the gallery. How did you do that?
So obviously, the pole extended out of a gallery. If you look at the photo carefully. So that was a concept. I wanted to make this small space, but I also use a space outside of gallery.
I see.
And I found there are so many lighting, about more than 20 lightings in that space. I'm
Wow.
very careful to use how many lighting I use. So I use only 3 lights. So it all these elements to create the atmosphere. And I think people are kind of satisfied. So that was good for me. And it's again, same thing. I try to use all the materials. It was abandoned in the southern areas, and I tried to find what I was interested in, and I use them. Like, so in a way, I create kind of a theatrical space, I think.
Well, wonderful. I'm so happy to hear about it, because now that we've seen a lot of the context of your work, it's going, I think, going to inform us even more when we see this piece in person. Well, Sook Jin, say again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can say that unfortunately, I tried to sound to make a 3-dimensional way. So we put the speakers inside, also outside. But because people are working on the same floor and it's not closed space, so we have to make a volume down. And so people might not experience kind of a 3-dimensional sound. So that's a little pity, but we have to work with the situation.
And would you say that you work with that like different situations each time? I mean, I feel like that challenge must be, I mean, I always say that mistakes are sometimes opportunities.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I agree with you. So sometimes people think that's a mistake, but we can use a mistake.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that it seems also because you're doing so much in nature, you're going to have to, take a little bit of a back seat sometimes and say, okay, I'm I'm going to, I'm going to deal with nature. Before we go, since Franconia is a beautiful land sculpture park, absolutely wonderful.
Right.
Could you share with us a little bit about your experience at Franconia and how that was different than all the other experiences that you've had?
Well, first of all, I was by myself. I was alone.
Yeah.
The evening at the 50-acre Franconia Sculpture Park.
Wow.
And the big mansion, 9 bedrooms.
Yes, amazing. You had a mansion to yourself.
Well, right. But all the windows on the ground floor is maybe about 10, but no curtain. So first night was a little, oh my God, is it okay? Every morning, every evening, I walk at the park and I was able to see so many different works by different artists. And sometimes I discovered again, and it was so good to see it also Marco Duspero's work in front of that.
Oh, isn't that great? I mean, who started Socrates, right?
Right. And that was wonderful. Also, I know that during the September 11, there is an artist who was killed.
Oh no.
Who was in residence in the World Trade Center, but I didn't know his name and his work. I found a year before what happened, he was a artist residency there at the Franconia Park, and he made the 3 figures with I think a fiberglass. It was they are not durable. So Franconia Sculpture Park, to honor him, they make a permanent bronze piece.
Yes.
And I was very touched.
Well, I'm being informed by awesome Jane at Franconia. She reminded both of us the name of the artist is Michael Richard. And Michael Richards, was the artist who was in residence at Franconia in 2000 and then passed away from the Twin Towers falling in 2001. So I'm so happy that touched you.
And well, so it was a really great, and yeah, so it was very inspiring. It was in a way magical.
Yes. Well, wonderful. You know, Sook Jin Jo, it's been such a pleasure for us to be able to receive your work and to see all that you're up to. I'm just want to repeat for everybody that Sook Jin Jo's Witness 3 is going to be up in our gallery until June 18th. And then while you're coming, I would say that weekend, if you want to make it in the last weekend, June 17th and 18th, join me and so many others on June 17th for the Midsummer Performance Art Festival and night sky viewing. And that will happen from 5 to 9 p.m. Parking is only $10, and that goes to Franconia to maintain our parking lot and the other operations that we have to keep it going. And, you know, I would just say to do both. You would see so much. Not only you see Michael Richards' work, so many other sculptures, you get to experience Sook Jin Jo's work in the gallery in the special installation, and then come for the Midsummer Performance Art Festival and night sky viewing. So I look forward to seeing you all then. And Sook Jin Jo, I would say, I hope you have a very good evening.
Thank you so much. It was so nice seeing you in person here.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's viewed this evening and beyond. And again, thank you to our staff, Jane and our wonderful staff at Franconia for all their efforts in putting this together.
I want to say thank you for the staff too. They're really
amazing, right?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Bye.